Black as night, worse death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
It's time to cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon, and I'm here with my cousin.
And this is Wendy. Hi, guys. By the time you guys hear this, it's going to be the last week of November already. And as we're getting ready to end another month and soon another year, we thought it would be a great idea to discuss ways to connect with your spirit guides. So I'm really excited about this topic. But we kind of wanted to do some catch up and see how everything's going. So Sharon, how was your week?
Pretty good. I was editing the last podcast and we had talked about the ghost and Miss Muir. So I was like, let me find a quote to play during the end song. And I go to YouTube just to see if I can pull something real quick. And what I discovered is that there was a Ghost and Mrs. Muir television show in the 60s. And so for an hour I just watched several episodes of the show and stopped editing altogether and got lost in it, but it was really cute.
I totally didn't even know they had that. I'm like,
it's basically based off, I would say, the movie, even though I found out the movie is a short novella, which maybe we should get our hands on and read. But it's funny, when he sees her, it's kind of the same thing, or she's she calls him a coward, he won't come out, and then he comes out and he's just I like you, you're intelligent for your sex. And he's just super toxic and masculine. And he was talking to her about how he's 20 to 30 girls at my will and blah, blah, blah. I had anybody I wanted. And that's just how their relationship starts. And I don't know why, I just find it charming.
It is.
It's just really so cool. Cute. So every episode they have little shenanigans. Kind of want to see how the show plays out. So I think I might keep watching it on YouTube.
Nice. Well, I wrote it down, so hopefully I'll get to watch it too if I have time.
Yeah, I know you had some time to catch up on Sabrina.
Yes, I finally watched it. It was so good. It was I don't know whether I should be thankful or not, but I was sick. And so I was what else am I going to do? I'm just going to sit here and watch Sabrina.
Nice.
So I'm here nursing this cold that I had and getting caught up. It was really good. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it because I'm so partial to the original, and I did like it. And I think I caught something in there that you didn't. I was oh, is Sabrina a twin? Sharon, I need to know. I think she's a twin.
Yeah, and I was I don't think so. And then the next thing I know, I saw this online video that was Sabrina, secret twin, and here's all the proof. And so I was let me check it out. And so I didn't even catch it, but there was a heavy symbolism of the two babies in that scene where she's looking at them in the woods, and one's got the goat feet and the other one's got the human feet. So what is your take on the twin theory?
I just thought that she had a twin, when they were, what was his name? When the headmaster, his wife is going to have babies, she was going to have twins. And it really stuck with me, the twin thing. And they kept showing twins and Sabrina. And I was was she a twin? I kept thinking about it. And then at the end, these are total spoilers, you guys.
Alert.
So if you haven't watched Sabrina,
just fast forward a couple minutes.
Yeah, just fast forward a couple minutes. So at the end, when they end up taking one of the babies, Zelda takes one of the babies, and Hilda says, well, we've done this before. And I thought, yes, they have done it before, because Sabrina's a freaking twin.
It's interesting theory, and I guess the symbolism was there all along. Some people think that maybe her twin is that dude in the magic school. I don't remember his character's name right now.
You mean the boy that has a crush on her?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
weird.
A
theory. So they're
I hope it's not that.
It's getting a little Game of Thronesy, and that it could be him, maybe? I don't know. Do you think Hilda and Zelda know?
I think so, because the thing is, they kept the girl baby. Remember, the headmaster wanted boys, so they kept the girl. So I immediately thought that Sabrina's twin was a boy and that he was raised in the magic school.
Right, so it could be that guy. I was trying to think maybe it's something to do with the fact that the mom's immortal and that the dad's, a warlock or whatever, so maybe he kept one baby and he gave the mom the other one, because I don't think the show said what's happened to the parents.
Yeah, well, remember how she went over into that other dimension?
The limbo?
She went into the ghost dimension. Yeah, limbo. And she saw her mom there, and she said she didn't really realize. She was I was told my baby died.
Right.
And so I thought that
Right.
she was told Sabrina died.
I think so too. You're right. I forgot about that. There's so many layers. I need to rewatch the show so I could like pick up on these little hints more and more. But I'm really glad you liked it.
I did like it.
I'm really excited. I found out that they're actually going to do like a holiday episode coming like real soon. It's going to come out December 14th, and it's called Chilling Adventure of Sabrina, A Midwinter's Tale, and it's supposed to cover like how her little coven celebrates the winter solstice.
That's awesome.
Yes, and they already shot it. If you look online, you can see some like outfits, and you can see Sabrina with her new hair, which by the way, I love. Like that was one of my complaints. I was like, I don't really like Sabrina's blonde hair. Like I love how in the comic it's white. It's just way cooler. They should have went with that. And so for them to pull that out at the end, I was like, yes! All of a sudden you're more interesting to me. Somehow hair color and characters is important to me. I just like love it. And I really like how she's got like the dark lipstick now, and it's going to be interesting to see how she takes on being signed away to like the devil now. Like how is that going to impact her life in a negative way?
Right. You know, I really love her relationship with Harvey in this one compared to the original TV show.
In what sense?
It's like, you know, in the TV show, they liked each other a lot, maybe even loved each other, but there was so much comedy going on, you didn't get to see how much they loved each other. And I feel like in this one, they really care about each other more.
And there's a maturity and a respect in their relationship, which you don't typically get. Like, they don't have the drama. Like, even when he's upset with her, they just maturely be like, I need space. And she gives that to him. And that is so rare to get in a teen drama about love and romance.
And in real life.
Totally. It's very rare that I'm, like, just calmly like, okay, giving you that space later. No.
Yeah. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Yeah.
No one's that one-dimensional in the show.
Right. Speaking of being one-dimensional, I just have to say that this podcast, I am super thankful for it, and I'm thankful for our listeners.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that there's something, like I always felt there was something missing in my life, and that I was really lost before we started doing this podcast. I didn't know what I was going to do with my days, and I just felt like there was something missing. And I feel like now this podcast has helped me open my eyes. Like each week we do a topic, learning not just about this topic, but I'm learning something about myself. And so that makes me feel pretty amazing.
That's
so
awesome.
I wanted to say I'm thankful for you too, because without you suggesting it, we wouldn't have done this.
I know. I'm so glad you said yes. It's so funny. Like, I have always suffered from really bad social anxiety and always judging myself, and I still haven't quite figured out the core of that or how to heal that and move past it, but I think it's getting better. But I knew I wanted to do a paranormal podcast really bad, and I thought after a while, like there was just one day where I was like, what if you do like a witchy paranormal podcast? Like you just combine these two things. I need a witch. And I was like, you came to mind. I thought you'd be the perfect person for this. But I was so nervous to send you that initial text to ask you. I was like, she's going to think I'm a moron, or that I'm so stupid for asking this. And
I spent 2 seconds thinking about it, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you were just like, yes. And like my heart was pounding, and it was like one of those texts where you think about it, like, do I send it? Do I not send it? Do I send it? Just, I don't know. I was just so afraid of judgment or rejection. That's got to be a key to my anxiety, is like rejection. But you were, like you said, it was just so quick. You were like, yeah. And then boom, like a week later, you had this thing up and going, and here we were.
I know. I just took it running. I was
really did.
All right.
I was like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And we were like, we're going. And so we leapt forward to this journey together, and it's been really awesome. So thanks for everyone who's been coming along the ride with us as we figure it out.
Yes. Oh, everybody's been so wonderful. We've had some really good feedback. So I think I had one more thing on my list that I wanted to talk about. It's kind of different than what we've been talking about already so far, but I don't know if you've heard of it. It's been showing up in my newsfeed for over a year, but a lot of people are just finding out about it now. So I felt like it was a good thing to talk about. But there's this thing called the Oumuamua. It is I'm probably saying that totally wrong, but if anybody who listens to this show knows that we butcher words, and it's totally cool.
Right. You can't take it too seriously. We're trying.
Yeah, we're just trying. We're doing our best. But Oumuamua is this interstellar object that kind of moves on its own, and they only detected it last year in 2017. I think it was October 2017, they detected it coming in near Earth, and it just moves of its own volition, kind of. And
It's like just slowly going forward.
yeah, but they think that it's been here before. They just aren't sure because we haven't had the technology that we currently have. So now we have this technology that can see this object, but they want to know what it is. So they're hoping that they have the ability to figure out one day what this object is. It's kind of cigar shaped. It's huge. It made me think, is this what people remember how throughout the years people have said, oh, I saw this cigar shaped UFO. And we're talking about these reports for cigar shaped UFOs go all the way back to the time that we could write. So there are reports of these cigar-shaped UFOs throughout centuries. Made me think, what if this is what they were seeing, but now nobody's driving the ship anymore?
So what's the thing's trajectory? Like, is it just now entering our solar system since last year?
No, it's already left our solar system.
Oh, it's already left our solar system.
Yeah. So it was here, and then it left.
So just kind of grazed on through our area and kept on going. It just
grazed on through.
So and
it didn't just go straight. It kind of arced around.
So the theory is that it's some sort of alien satellite, maybe, or that there might be, or do you think that there's something in there?
Or there might be a ship, or it may have been a ship at one time. But if you look at it, it's this, there's pictures all over. I'm going to spell it out for you guys so that if you want to research it, you can. It's spelled Oumuamua. And I think they call it Oumuamua, which is a word. Oh, I should have looked it up. It's a Hawaiian word because there was a telescope in Hawaii that actually detected it. So, with anything, whatever satellite or whoever finds it, whatever station finds it, gets to name it, which is pretty cool. So this Hawaiian group of people, they named it Oumuamua. And they do believe that it kind of moves on its own. I mean, everything that comes into Earth's orbit, whether it's a comet or something else, it's coming here because there's a pull or a trajectory that it's set on. This Oumuamua doesn't have a course. It's moving on its own. So they do think it could have been a ship at one time. It's made out of this rock. It looks like it's made out of this rock-like material. So maybe it's been calcified for how long it's been out in the universe.
But it's like an unknown, like it doesn't match anything else.
Unknown.
Like that's what I was
reading. It doesn't match anything else.
Right. The way it moves, what it's made out of, it's just, it's kind of its own thing. We don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I think one guy out of Harvard is the one who kind of just recently said, I think this is like a UFO or of alien origin. And so I've been seeing in like resurface in the headlines, I think this month maybe.
Yeah, because he came up with some conclusions. So I think it's out there. But they said they think it's about 400 feet long and about 40 feet wide. It changes color.
What? I didn't know that.
It spins. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say color. It changes its brightness. So it can get dark, bright, dark, bright. So why would it be like that unless it's some sort of beacon?
Right. Like we sent out our own little, satellite out there to see what we could find.
We have tons of satellites out there that have gone to different solar systems.
I know. I forget the name of the one that's always out there just with our message like, hey, we're here. These are our coordinates. We're peaceful.
Yeah.
I forgot that one was
So we don't know. We don't know what this is. So before we move on to our Cauldron Topics, I did notice one thing this week. Looks like a lot of places that we house our podcast is only showing 10 at a time, even though we have more. So if you're just starting to listen to us now, feel free to go back and listen to older episodes, which you can find at our website. Currently, our website is at cousinscoven.home.blog. We're thinking about changing that to cousinscoven.com, and we'll let you know when that happens. But right now, just keep following us on social media so you can get updated on that information. And thank you for listening to us so much. I can't thank you guys enough. And I think we're going to move on to our Cauldron topic. So Sharon, kick us off.
I wanted to talk about the triple goddess aspect and symbol and what it means to like witches and in like the Wiccan culture. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen this symbol. You can see it symbolized by the 3 moons. You'll have like the 2 crescent moons on the outside and the full moon in the middle. There's also like the triquetra, which I kind of wasn't familiar with until maybe Charmed, like a little kid seeing that on their Book of Shadows. That's another way to represent like the Trinity. And for anyone not familiar, that represents the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And those are like the three aspects and phases of a woman's life, and just different aspects of the goddess that you can break down. And, so literally we are going to go through these phases in like a literal sense during our lifetime as, a young maiden going into a mother, and then eventually the old woman, the crone. But the triple goddess has these qualities that all of us, male and female, they're going to resonate with us at various points throughout our entire lifetime. Sorry about my cat. He was getting really excited. Like there was a trash bag on the floor, and that was just making him super hyper. So back to the triple goddess. For those that don't really use god and goddess in their witchcraft or worship, it's more of like a Wiccan thing. But you can kind of look at the divine feminine. It's the counterpart to the horned god, the male essence and the god figure of witchcraft. So if you want to break down these three archetypes, we have a maiden, and she just represents like the youthful phase of a woman's life. It's a time of growth, and that's going to be reflected in the waxing moon of that symbol. So that's because it's moving towards becoming full and becoming the full moon. It's a time of growth. The maid's going to represent like purity, beauty, fresh potential, a new life, innocence, youth, self-confidence, independence and exploration. It's a time of discovery in your life and self-expression and creativity. And when you're in that young part of your life, the maiden really invites you to explore your spirituality and your desires. And for me, when I think about the maid, I think like a perfect pop culture archetype is Disney princesses. They're all such young women who they all have like a song in their movie just describing what their dreams and their desires are and what they're trying to figure out in life before they've even had any hardships or growth, really. Like they just, to me, that's what a maid is when I think about Disney princesses.
Do you think there's an age range involved with being a maid or any of these really, or it just depends on the individual?
At any point in your life, I think that you could tap into this, or even from day to day. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I connected to the maid aspect, like maybe even just last year and all the years following. But this year I've had such a year of growth and having more of a foundation and awareness about me that I've really transitioned. But I feel like I'm kind of getting ready to say goodbye to the maiden aspect of my life as far as in a linear sense, but I know that that's always a part of me.
Sure, I get that. I feel like it's been a long time since I've been a maid. Like I feel like I've been, at least at the time period that I'm at right now, I feel like I go back and forth between mother and crone more than I do a maid. I feel like I haven't been her since maybe I was in my mid to late 20s. Mm-hmm. I think by the time I was 30, I was moving out of that and really into the mother stage.
Definitely.
Man, I'm like giving my age away. Just forget I'm saying all this. Forget it.
We're young maidens here. That's
right.
One thing, we don't want to let society tell us like what age should be. Like there's a lot of things about women and how we fear aging because of society and those norms. Like we should just embrace whatever stage we're at. And it does feel weird for me to say like I'm getting ready to transition out of my 20s next year. In March I'm going to be becoming 30, and I know that's still young, but it's just such a different shift mentally has been happening with me, and in my growth spiritually and who I am as a person has changed so much just in like this last year alone. Like I feel like I'm transitioning to that mother phase even though I don't have children.
Yeah, but you don't have to have children to be a mother,
exactly.
For sure.
Let me break down the mother aspect. The mother represents the full moon. The maiden, she becomes the mother, giving birth to abundance. And she's associated with the summertime because that's the most lush time of the year. And as far as characteristics go, the mother is usually associated with love, fertility is a part of it, and being nurturing, having responsibility, patience, power and self-care and adulthood, as boring as that sounds. That's something I've definitely been embracing more. And just the fullness of life. The mother is the giver of life, and she is the aspect most associated with manifestation. She's bringing things to life. And in fact, the mother is considered by many Wiccans the most powerful of the goddess aspects. And so it's hard for me to say I'm not a maid anymore. I think I'm a mother, but it's just what's happening. I'm becoming more aware of my spirituality. I have a standing now where I can manifest things into my life. I'm no longer floundering or wondering or exploring. I've got that foundation.
Right. I mean, we're all still learning all
day
of the
to day,
time.
of course, without a doubt.
Right. But in a different aspect, and we're more open in the mother stage. I feel like we're more open to different changes.
Yeah, I think to say I'm in the mother aspect means I'm no longer wondering who I am or what I am. Like, I'm just like, no, I know that
Right.
I'm a witch. I know that this is who I am as a person. I've got my foundation now. Or a lot of my maiden years were just like so lost. I don't think I was even awake for most of that time period. Like, I had no idea who I was as a person or how the universe worked or any of these kind of principles that we talk about to this day.
Right. I feel like in the mother stage, you're at that point where you've been living your life with a blanket over your head for so long. then the blanket was ripped off and you can finally see some truth.
Yeah.
About yourself and the world around you.
Definitely. And then for the Crone aspect, I was kind of just researching the Crone a little bit more before this podcast. And I found out that the term actually comes from the Greek word chronos, which means time, which is really cool because as an old woman, you know, she's experienced a great amount of time. And she's had this whole lifetime and experiences under her belt that she is also like a really strong aspect of the triple goddess. I've heard in other readings that she's the most powerful of all of them because she's had all these years of doing magic and gaining all this occult wisdom and knowledge and life experience, which is really valuable to any woman or man. And so she's put that forward, and now she's just got her time and her, you know, her solitude to hone this craft, to do this craft, to do it every day and focus on it and help others and be like a teacher to everyone else around her. So, and the moon symbol, she's kind of be represented in the waning moon. You know, that's when the moon's kind of going more to a darker time, and she's known as the dark goddess. You'll hear that a lot referenced. And, you know, it's going to be your post-childbearing years of life, which is going to be associated with the seasons of like autumn and winter, when just like everything's kind of decaying and dying off. She's associated with sunset and the night and the winding down of seasons and the ending of seasons. And she's just really supposed to be a wise aspect of the goddess. And she governs aging and death, endings, rebirth, past lives, transformations, as well as just having like visions, knowledge, and ultimately giving guidance to others. So I really like this part of the triple goddess. I feel like I look forward to this time in life when I can just be alone in my little witchy cabin doing my witchy stuff and like have, I don't know, just like a stock of herbs and all this knowledge and time to just really do magic.
Sure. Yeah. And helping others. I think that's where I feel like I'm starting to connect with the Crone a little bit more because my need to try to help people is expanding. That's why this podcast comes in handy for me, because it's helping me transition into a different part of my life where I can start sharing my knowledge and help them. You know, maybe you just need some guidance or someone to listen. And that's where the Crone comes in. And I feel like she's able to listen with more without judgment and just be there.
Right. I was trying to think of like pop culture icons that could be seen as crones. And I think Dumbledore is kind of a perfect example.
Yes.
Like, he is well revered in that, you know, Harry Potter community, and he's well respected for his knowledge and feared for his power, and people look to him for guidance. And I think that's like the ultimate crone right there is Dumbledore. And you could even say the same thing as like Professor McGonagall. You know, she's definitely an older woman with great assets and power at her side. And then I was trying to think of like what's a story that actually has all three of these stages kind of more classically defined in women. And the one thing I really thought of was practical magic. You've got the two young daughters in that book who actually start becoming and blossoming into women and teenagers, and they start like starting to learn what the world is going to treat them, or how the world is going to treat them differently based on their bodies kind of blossoming. And so they struggle with that in a wonderful scene that I really related to. And then you've got the two mothers with Jillian and wow, I'm forgetting, what is Sally? Thank you, Sally. So the two sisters, you know, they're like the mother, and then you have the two aunts, Jet and Frances, who are like the ultimate crones, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was one of the few times I could really see all three represented.
Yeah. You're constantly, as humans in general, we're always trying to find some sort of balance in our lives, and this Maid Mother Crone is kind of, to me, finding a balance as well, especially in the mother stage. I feel like you could still be all three. You don't I know that they say with the Crone you have to be older, you know, you're past childbearing age. Yeah, time has gone by, but you can still have Crone aspects.
Yeah, a lot of times people could tell you you're an old soul.
Right, wise beyond your years. Yeah, for sure.
You could apply this triple goddess aspect to your deities and use it in your magic and kind of pull those aspects into your workings and see what you kind of want to hone in on. And 3 is a really sacred number. It's represented in many religions. I think like the Holy Trinity kind of borrowed from the triple goddess aspect, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Like many religions have 3 as a sacred number.
Yeah, an empowering number.
Yeah.
It's a small enough group that you can get your point across.
So should we move on to our main topic?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right.
We're actually going to talk about what it is to be a spirit guide. We're going to talk about some self-healing. We're going to talk about ways to connect with the spirit guide, and finally, hopefully having a spiritual awakening. So just going to kind of give a little bit of background. I did some research on what a spirit guide was in history and how it came about. It's actually, I was surprised to find out that it's more, at least from what I read, it was more of a Western idea. And I thought a spirit guide has been around forever, but really the idea of it had not really been written in text until around the 18th century. So I guess I thought it had been since the beginning of time that we'd be talking about spirit guides, but maybe it just wasn't written in text. But a spirit guide is someone, for those of you who don't know, it's somebody that guides you or has information for regarding the past, present, or future. These guides, they may try to leave you information through synchronicities or just kind of, it's almost like having a ghost following you around, I suppose you could think of it that way, but who's trying to help you. The belief was said to be brought about by mesmerism, theosophy, and Swedenborgianism. So I'm going to kind of talk about what these are. Apparently, when they started writing about spirit guides, they took little bits and pieces from each of these to make what a spirit guide was, at least in written form. So mesmerism is a following from a man named Franz Anton Mesmer. He believed that all things living and inanimate objects are possessed by an invisible natural force, so that they all have their own energy. The science behind that is actually true now. They do know that everything, including a piece of wood, a stick, a rock, it doesn't matter. It has its own energy.
So the force.
So yeah, so that's, but a lot of people didn't take that as face value. When they heard that, they were like, how can it possibly have its own energy? It's not alive. It's not breathing.
To this day, most people don't
matter.
Subscribe to that way of thinking.
I know. It's so weird. It makes me feel like they're closed-minded, but I shouldn't judge. I'm so sorry.
They're not awake.
They're not awake. Get woke, people. Okay, so the next thing was theosophy. This is the belief that the knowledge of God can be found in several ways. It could be a special rapport with God or angels, by intuition, and or spiritual ecstasy, what they called that. This could be achieved by ascending. So they believed basically that if you had the knowledge of the universe and the knowledge of who God was and what God represented in your life, then you could achieve greatness. Then there's the Swedenborgianism. I know I'm totally pronouncing this wrong, but I think it was from Germany or it could be from Sweden, since it has the name Sweden in there. I can't remember. But this was basically what they called the New Church, where they believed that God and Jesus are the same person and that you have to live by his commandments. So anyways, so that was kind of the history about where they came about. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I just grew up being told that we have angels, invisible angels that are with us. My mother subscribed to this theory that there was always a good angel and a bad angel with you at all times. And this is when religion would scare me. I remember her telling me this, and I was like, what the heck do you mean? Like, just how you see in a cartoon. That's kind of what she was trying to tell me. Like, there's a good one and a bad one. The good one's always going to be there helping you, but the bad one's going to try to convince you to do bad things. Right. But I do think that everyone has a spirit guide, and I just thought that was common knowledge. So it does kind of surprise me that it's only during the 18th century that this came about.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big Native American belief as well.
I thought so too.
That's what I was finding in my research, that a lot of Native Americans believe that most spirit guides are of actually Native American descent themselves. Because they're such spiritual people, there's a lot of shamans that they are still carrying on that torch and helping people in their current lifetime now.
Right. And I don't think Americans really give Native Americans very much credit. They've actually been here so much longer than we realize. And their culture is so wise in their belief.
Let's dive more into spirit guides in a little bit, but first let's start from the beginning. We want to talk about self-healing just a little bit because I think it's important in order to see your spirit guide or hear from them that these kind of self-healing might help you.
It helps you connect a little further.
Right. Yes. Thank you. And shout out to my friend Crystal who suggested that we talk about spiritual awakenings and self-healing. We felt like this was a perfect episode to address that and fit it in with what we're talking about. So I was finding out, just like looking online, what people thought about self-healing, and I found that belief, the most important thing you needed in order to heal yourself, that you couldn't do it if you doubt it. Like if you have a disease and you think it's incurable, then for sure it's going to stay incurable. But just having that belief that you can heal your body and that you're going to get over it is incredibly useful in self-healing.
Right. And when we say, well, at least when I say belief, I think you have to believe in it 100%. Remember I said I was sick this past week? I got sick and I told myself I could not be sick anymore, that my body needed to heal itself. And literally the next day I was better. Mm-hmm. But you have to believe in it. Yeah. With your whole being, without any doubt.
I think so too. And there's actually been like medical studies on this. I was reading that for over 50 years, they've been doing these studies that up to 80% of patients treated with nothing more than like sugar pills or those saline injections, you know, like the placebo effect, that 80% of those patients were fine and that they got better and they got over it just by thinking that they were taking a medicine, kind of being tricked into that belief. And that the mind is such a powerful thing that it can start tricking those healing mechanisms in your body to do its job.
Right. The human body is fascinating. I mean, there's just so much inside of it that we take for granted as humans, I believe, that we just don't have this belief in ourselves as much as we should.
So I was reading this blog written by a nurse, actually, that she thinks that most of her patients, if they just spent some time meditating and trying to channel the energy through your hands, like for most people who don't regularly use energy, you'd want to rub them together for like 20-30 seconds, feel the energy ball between your hands, and then imagine that going through your hands up to your arms and through your body like a white light. And this might take like up to 10-15 minutes of just meditation and channeling that white light through your body, and that by doing that you're going to start healing your own body. And I'm not trying to claim that you can cure yourself of cancer or anything like that. Like maybe you can, maybe you can't, but I just think that this is something you could use to try to help yourself.
Right, for like anxiety, and which I'm a sufferer of.
Yes.
And, you know, and everyday things, like I said, the common cold or body aches and pains, that kind of thing. Minor.
Right. And then I know you wrote down meditate daily. I know you're a huge meditator.
Absolutely. You should meditate daily, practice yoga, those kind of things. It gives you a chance to clear your mind and clear the poison that's in your mind, because we're poisoned constantly through social media, through everyday life, through other people's thoughts. It's kind of like poison running through your brain, all the negativity. So you have to get that negativity out by meditating and by doing yoga and things like that.
I definitely agree. Like I just started my yoga teacher training in September, so it's been like 2 months now, and I'm just learning so much about the healing benefits of it. And my teacher talks about how, you know, the breath is so important, and just taking that time to do yoga and check in and take these big deep breaths like in and out. For most people, that's not something that they do on a day-to-day basis. They're just so busy, wrapped up in their jobs, their lives, their family, go, that slowing down, taking time to have deep exhalations and inhalations is so healing to their body and their mind. It can really help. So that's just the part of just sitting there breathing, the beginning of your practice. But then once you start doing like the asanas, which is the postures and the movements, you're going to like really help with your flexibility. You're going to strengthen your muscles, give your body more balance. You're going to actually help your immune function. I was reading that it helps with lung function, joint health. It'll even strengthen your bones, lower your stress, and lower your blood sugar and blood pressure. And it just overall will help your body with pain, and the need to take medicine is going to be less. So I know it's actually healed some people with lupus, which is like really intense pain all over your body. But the yoga can help.
It's debilitating.
Yeah.
I've known people who've passed away from lupus. So it's intense that this free thing, yoga is free. You can do it in your home. You can meditate in your home. You don't have to go pay for it.
There's plenty of stuff on YouTube that you can follow.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I mean, just take time for yourself to do that.
What else do you have on your list?
So you should align your chakra. Make sure to get out in nature. Be alone with your thoughts and sort through them and write them down in a journal by doing some journal writing. Another good thing is Reiki, because you can go to a Reiki practitioner, or if you know how to do it yourself. I've never done Reiki on myself, but if you were to see a Reiki practitioner, they could help you heal your body. If you can heal your body and heal your mind, then you're really healing your whole self.
Yeah, I was actually reading about the Reiki healing of yourself the other day, and I didn't know that apparently some people can do it to themselves, and it kind of just sounds like the same principle of like meditating with that white light through your own body. You just do the Reiki to yourself kind of thing. So apparently that's possible, but that's going to come after some training, I think. That's a little more intense than the other things we mentioned.
Yeah.
But all of these techniques are things that should help you just align to your higher self, your higher purpose, be a more calm, centered person. And in that sense, you should start being able to hear and see signs from your spirit guides. There's different types of spirit guides too. One you can label as your higher self, which is just your soul. You know, people believe your soul is having a human experience in your physical body, but it actually contains the experience of many lifetimes. And that's kind of if you subscribe to like a reincarnation theory. And that your higher self is a wonderful guide and a source of wisdom, as it has a better viewpoint. People also subscribe to the theory of, angels and archangels, and that they're messengers and protectors and guides, and that a guardian angel is really the most commonly known type of angels. I think that is true. And the angels are all considered to be non-denominational, which I kind of struggle with. Like, I don't know if I really feel comfortable believing in angels, because I don't subscribe to Christianity anymore, but I know that there are plenty of witches that do, and that you can view them as non-denominational, or they're not associated with any particular religion or belief. And the archangels are really specialized angels and are higher level beings, and that anyone can call upon them at any time to help them, and they might even be with you at all times, whether you know it or not. What do you feel about archangels and angels in general?
I believed in them for many years. Not that I have ever seen one or felt one, but then as I've gotten older, I think that it's really what you believe and what you feel comfortable in believing.
True.
So they may exist, but I may not feel comfortable with them.
Same.
It's really hard because of how we grew up. I kind of go back and forth sometimes because it's in my DNA. It's already been grilled into my mind from the time that I was born that these existed. So it's hard for me.
I guess like with all of these, it just depends on like your viewpoint.
Right. I believe in miracles, and a lot of people say that miracles come from angels and archangels. So it's really hard. I don't know. It's a hard one for me to wrap my mind around, because it's like I go back and forth. I'm like on the fence.
I totally understand that. That. And I was also finding out and doing research that people consider your ancestors to be spirit guides in a sense. People who passed away can come to you and give you these messages, and they can help you. Sometimes they can be people you've never met who just passed on and that are in your ancestral line. But either way, that if you're open to sensing their presence through signs, dreams, or voices, that it can be there. And I 100% believe in this because I've had it happen to me recently. I don't even remember if I've talked about this on podcasts before.
I don't think so. I know I've heard it because you talked to me about it after it happened.
Yeah. But, I don't normally have any kind of connection to ghosts or spirits. Like, that's new to me. I've never claimed to hear any kind of thing, but there was just one or I think it was like 2 or 3 days actually where I knew my aunt was with me. She had just recently passed away like last year, and it's been really hard on the family, and we're all going through it in different ways, but I felt like she just came to me in those couple of days, and I felt like a tap on my shoulder one day at work while I was listening to a podcast about ghosts. It was kind of weird. This girl was talking about like how she had her grandfather come to her in a dream, and that she found out like an hour later that's because he had just died, and it just seemed like that was his spirit like passing through her and giving her a message and then going on. And with Debbie that wasn't the case, but I was listening to that podcast and I just felt like a tap on my shoulder, and for some reason I just had this intuition. I was like, oh, it's just Debbie. And I just kept cleaning. Like, I was at work mopping the floor. And I'm just like, I'm just going to keep cleaning. But I was like, I never have those kind of feelings or those thoughts where I just know when it's somebody. So that was just really weird.
Right.
And then I went home and I was like, I just felt really called to go to my altar and meditate. So I started doing meditation and journaling and trying to figure out what to do with my life. Like, I've been struggling for the last couple of years, like trying to figure out what my career path is, what my life path is, what am I supposed to be doing with my job. And I was like, I want to do this thing. I want to become a yoga teacher, but I don't see it financially in the cards for me. I don't know if I have the time to be able to get that education. And so Debbie just came down to me and was like, just do it. Like, you can't hesitate anymore. You need to do this thing. You're going to do it. It's going to be fine. And she was just telling me all these little messages. And I didn't hear her voice. I just knew it in my head. And so it was a really strong experience. I felt her presence. I felt tingling energy. I felt these messages, and then like immediately afterwards, I think I called my mom and I told her this. But I was like, Debbie's just, I feel like she's encouraged me to do something. And she was like, well, what? What is she encouraging you to do? And I was like, go to yoga school. And then from there, my mom helped me make that journey possible by helping me like fund it. And here I am, like going through this journey because of my aunt.
Right. I feel like she's what helped us come together, you and I.
Totally.
Come together to know each other more. You had the opportunity to come visit our family for
That's true.
her memorial, and so because of that, we were able to experience some things together. And now look at us.
That's true, because that was the first time we saw each other after I became a witch, basically, and after
in a different light.
And after my older sister was kind of telling me, like, she's like, I'm pretty sure Wendy's into this stuff too, because she talked to you more than I did at that point. Right. And so as soon as we got alone together, you, me, and your daughter, like, we were like, we can be weird now. Let's talk about it. And we just the floodgate was open, and it started this whole conversation.
Right. Curtains down. We were just, this is what we believe, and it was nice to have somebody else in our family who believed the same thing, because it's not, I love our family more than anything, but I don't always connect with people about this kind of stuff.
And I'm really particular who I open up to about it, because I don't want to tell, I only talk about this stuff with people who I think are into it, because if you're not into it, it's just going to sound crazy. Well,
plus the fear of rejection. It's all about fear. At least in my life, I know almost everything that I hold back on is because of fear.
Exactly. Like, you have to be kind of brave to just be like, I'm going to go around talking about spirit guides. Most people are going to like roll their eyes at you and be like, you're weird.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're one of those new agey, metaphysical, blah, blah, blah.
So I definitely think that it takes time to open up, and the podcast is really helping me out with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's also spirit animals, or you call them like totems, that people consider to be like spirit guides. And they're really similar to like guardian angels, but they're basically an animal form. And they're going to come to you throughout your lifetime, just depending on your needs. I've always been really drawn to marine mammals throughout my childhood. I just really wanted to be close to them. I wanted to work with them. I wanted to be a marine biologist. And I thought about that for a long time. And it wasn't until I moved to Texas, of all places, is that I had an opportunity to see like a whale for the first time. Actually, that's not true. I saw Keiko when I was a little kid.
I was
Wait a minute.
You didn't see Keiko?
Keiko! Shout out to 90s kids who remember Keiko. Like, anyone who watched Free Willy, he kind of went on this tour after that movie came out, and it was really cruel and sad. And now, as an adult, I realized how horrible it is. I'm not going to go off on I can't even handle going off on captivity of animal tangent right now. But I did see, I came to a SeaWorld because there's one here. And again, this is before I knew the horrors of animal captivity. But when I saw the whales like jumping around and doing their thing, like, I just started crying, and it was super embarrassing. Like, I just was like, people can't look at me. I'm crying. This is ridiculous.
That is so crazy, because we went to SeaWorld when I was in middle school in California, and I did the same thing.
Are you serious?
I bawled. Yeah, I thought it was just me.
So
my
embarrassing.
Were like, my dad was like, why are you crying? I'm like, I just can't help it.
They're so beautiful. And then again, like, my husband Wayne and I, we went down to like Corpus Christi. They have a museum there, and I saw a sea turtle for the first time. And again, I just put he was in a little glass dome, and now I realize how sad that is. But at the time, I wasn't educated to that. And so I put my hands on the glass and I'm like looking at him, and I just start crying again and crying. And I'm with Wayne, who I know is not a spiritual person. He's
Right.
just like there with me, chilling me, letting me do my weird sensitive woman thing, crying. Like I can't imagine what's going on in his head. And I'm just like, why am I crying? Why is this happening? Like, I don't know why I feel such a connection to these mammals, but I feel like turtles have to be like my spirit guide.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. I love that.
So I have like turtle candles on my altar right now, and I'm always pulling in water elements into my magic, and I don't know exactly what messages they have for me or if I'll ever be able to work with them in real life, but I know that that's something to do with my life.
I have two that I've always connected with, jellyfish, because look at them. They're just amazing. And starfish. I have always, this is going to sound, well, probably not sound strange to you, but maybe to other people. I have always had this ability to, because I go to the Oregon coast all the time, but a lot of times when I'm there, I will actually see a starfish. Now, if you're going to the rocks, they usually hide under rocks, but I have some really good pictures actually of close-up giant starfish. Then you're thinking, wait, they usually aren't here. They're usually in the deep ocean. Why is it here? But they like to come visit me.
I always see them like on the rocks, like you're talking about when the tide's out.
Yeah.
In the Pacific
underneath.
coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I don't have anymore here living on, like with the Gulf.
I'm just really sad about that because the ocean is the best.
I mean, it's a different experience here, but like
Sure.
if you're on the Pacific coast and the tide's low, there's these rocks you can go like walk on, and that's where you'll see like clusters of purple and orange starfish just chilling out.
Yeah, it's very amazing. Love marine life so much. We're going to move on and talk about ways to connect with your spirit guide. Basically, in order to connect with your spirit guide, you need to tune in and enjoy the blessings that your guides can provide. Your guides are ready to step in and help you and hold the key to enjoying their special brand of wisdom and protection. You'll have a hard time connecting with them if you're rushing around, so don't let the noise of the world drown out your own inner voice and the voices of your spirit guides. To feel closer to your spirit guides, start tapping in to the voice of your own soul. So some ways that you can do this are you need to really listen.
You need to have patience, really, when you're talking to them. Don't expect them to just come through immediately. Keep second guessing and questioning yourself to a minimum. You just got to really trust your gut. Learning to scry, that can be a really important tool to communicating with things from beyond. And we actually plan on talking about scrying more, I think, next episode or the episode after, but we're going to be doing that soon.
Episode after,
yeah. We're going to talk about scrying in depth soon if you have questions on that. And, don't be afraid to let go of control.
Yeah, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm really controlling of my life and everything around my life. So you have to be able to kind of let go of the control that you have on yourself so that your guide can speak to you internally.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I hear a lot in spiritual communities is that you have to go with the flow. You can't have expectations of really what's going to be happening in your life to 100% degree. You want to have some sort of a plan, but realize that might not be what your higher self has in mind for you.
Right. Make sure to speak to those guides. Talk to them as if they're in the room with you, and then listen to what you think is your inner voice, and that might be them speaking back to you. Just be open to the experience.
Yes. And you can look for signs throughout your day. What kind of animals do you see? What kind of reoccurring patterns do you see? What are the synchronicities? Are you seeing a sequence of numbers every time you look at the clock? Is there some sort of number you're seeing outside when you're driving around? Look for those signs.
Right.
And I was actually reading that one person was suggesting just to tap into your childlike joy and innocence, and that's supposed to really help you connect back to your higher self, because before society had shaped you or really changed you or closed off your mind, as kids, we're so innocent that I think we're more in tune to higher things than we are as an adult.
Agreed.
Like society tells you so many things aren't possible that, that's not a spirit guide. That's just your imaginary friend. Like, what if that was your spirit guide you were talking to?
Yeah. I had a lot of imaginary friends when I was little.
And I bet some of those were spirits for you.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I do have some memories of that. Yeah.
And one of the main things that you should do with your spirit guides, if you want to keep that connection strong, is that you should show and express gratitude. Like, if you do feel like that was a sign from them, thank them, even if it's just in your head. Like, show gratitude And that's a way of really strengthening that connection.
Right. And another way that a spirit guide can help you is by sending or removing people from your life. So
I believe this.
I know a breakup is really hard, but they may be removed from your life for a reason, and sometimes being removed from the situation can help you realize why they're no longer in your life. Or if you lose a friend, at the age that I'm at now, I've gained and lost so many friends over the years. At the time, it was detrimental, but now I understand it. I learned from it.
It was a part of your growth.
Right.
I feel like my friendship with Maria is actually one of these situations. And it wasn't in the moment of becoming friends with her that I saw it. It was like, looking back, I was like, oh my God, Maria, I saw you years before we became friends. And I thought about how cool you looked, and I wanted to be your friend. And then I forgot about that, and then we became friends. So, like...
That's so cool.
To try to explain it, yeah. As, like, she was working at the Alamo Draft House, and I went to, like, one of these anime nights they had, and I saw her serving, like, a different row of people, and she has long, beautiful, straight hair. She usually has it dyed, like, crazy colors, like blue, green, red, whatever. And I was just like, wow, she has such cool hair. Like, that immediately makes me, like a chick sometimes. I'm like, she's got great hair. Like, I was like, she looks so awesome. I wish she could be my friend. And at that time, I didn't have really any friends, but I just saw her and thought, wow, I wish she was my friend. And then, like, maybe 2 years later, I applied at this new draft house was opening up, and I got a job there, and she ended up getting transferred there. And this didn't even enter my mind that I saw her. And we didn't become, like, immediate friends overnight or anything. It was just slowly through, like, talking to her. She told me about how she did a spell to find a lost ring of hers. So she did something with honey and milk. And that she looked out her window and she saw, like, a glint of the jewelry. And then she's, like, knew the spell worked, and she went out and got it. And so that's how I knew she was into this stuff. And so slowly her and I started talking about witchcraft. I stopped working for the company. We kind of, like, fell out of touch. And then she just kind of was like, why don't you come do a group ritual at my house? And I was really scared and anxious because at the beginning of my witch journey, I was not open. I would have never had a podcast. I would have never put it out there that I did this stuff. I would have never shared it with anyone. It was just like a secret of mine that I kept hidden.
Yeah, you were a closet witch.
Very in the closet. Yeah. And so I did the group ritual. I had a really, really fun time. It was so cool to actually be able to share magic with other people. But at the same time, I kind of like went home and I had like a little panic attack. I was like, I can't believe I did that in front of other people. They saw how weird I am. Oh my God.
It's that fear.
That fear.
Fear just rules our lives sometimes.
It really did. And so like I didn't do it again for a long time. And then she invited me out again maybe 6 months to a year later, and that's when we started doing it regularly. And I met Vinny, our other friend, and like now I'm more open, and she's someone I feel like my spirit guide sent me to give me friendship and a witch and bring me out of my shell more. My little turtle shell that I hide into all the time.
I love it.
So thanks, Maria.
What a great story. Aww,
thanks, spirit guys.
So sweet.
So I for sure felt like, and then I just was like, one day I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh my God, Maria, I saw you and I wanted to be your friend, and now we're friends. Isn't that weird? And she's just like, yeah. Like, I was like, no, you don't understand.
We're such dreamers, you and I.
Yeah.
It's that Pisces.
I know.
I love it.
It's cool when you see those things years later, how it really changes your life. So for me, I don't always hear my spirit guides directly. Sometimes I don't know exactly who they are. And I think that it's going to take me years before I even look back and realize the ways that they've always been here. Like I'm working on my connection with them.
Yes, I love it. You can also, one of the things that we didn't talk about, another way to connect with your spirit guide, maybe through tarot as well. Sometimes they can give you some...
Definitely.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to get out of the box and try something new.
I always love to use tarot when I'm journaling and trying to ask like guidance from higher self. I can't believe we didn't mention that. And I'll even use oracle cards, which are just a different type of cards.
Yeah, and runes.
Oh yeah, I use runes as well. So there's this theory that you have a main guide known as a gatekeeper. I don't know if you've heard about this or how you feel about that. But so I was reading that like a gatekeeper is someone who's going to be with you your entire life, and that before you're even born, you're up there, wherever this is, up in source, and that you decide what you're going to experience in your that lifetime you're about to go down into, and what you're going to learn. So you have your soulmates that you already have decided. It could be these souls that you've known for many lifetimes, and they're being reincarnated with you in this current life. And you're going to know who your parents are going to be. And you actually pick your parents really carefully, and that's going to help shape who you become. Yeah. And
we read a book about this.
Yeah, I've heard this said through many different kind of spiritual teachers. So it's a common belief that's out there, and that your main guide knows all these things, but then when you're born, you forget all of it. So your main guide kind of just has the roadmap to your life, and they're trying to guide you on that.
I definitely believe that to be true, especially since I believe in reincarnation. And so there was this book that we read, Many Lives, Many Masters, and I know that we're going to do a whole episode on this, but I just have to say that that book and that theory made me so happy to know that somebody else was out there who believed the same thing that I was. I mean, I've already believed in that kind of stuff. So
I'm on the fence
definitely,
with like reincarnation for some reason.
You are?
I kind of am. I go back and forth because I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Because I don't, in the sense that I don't think my earthly brain can really comprehend it. Like, I don't think Earth is the only place I'd ever be born. I think there's way other places out there. So that's...
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree with that, too. But I just have memories that are unexplainable. And so... And doing research into those memories is what made me realize that I was probably reincarnated. I mean, I could be just talking with ghosts, but I feel like it was a reincarnation situation.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about that one day, guys.
Yes, that's for another episode. I'm so sorry, you guys. So let's talk about this. So we're going to go in to talk about spiritual awakening. It's basically transcending to a higher consciousness. And for some, this means you're living in a different plane of existence. And for others, it is a hyper awareness of life, the meaning of life, the universe, and how you fit into it. You're going to feel extremely connected to the world around you, as well as having a higher understanding of life. So I do want to mention different plane of existence, which we're going to talk about this in another episode too. But I just want to say this would be for people who believe in the Mandela effect, because you believe that you're ascending into a different, almost like a different universe, but it's not. It's just a different plane. So
I didn't know it was so literal. I just kind of thought it meant in a sense that...
There are people who believe that you actually transformed your life into a different existence. But for most people, it's just... you're transforming your life into what you want it to be.
Right. And your perception is your reality.
Right. Your reality, not somebody else's. So that's the difference. They talk about 2D world, 3D world, 4D world. So when they're talking about that, they're really talking about the way you perceive things. But some ways that you may be able to tell you are having an awakening is you feel this need inside of yourself to discover more about your own life and your spiritual life. You may just find this almost like it's incessant. Like you were like, I have to do this. Nothing else matters. I need to figure out where my life is headed. Just like we were talking about, what's my purpose? That's you having a spiritual awakening. You saying, what's my purpose? What job should I have? What should I be doing in my life to make things better? You may want to have more life and less things. That means you want to purge. You're like purging your closet. You're purging stuff, because materialism isn't what you want. You want experience. You find this need to change everything in your life, including your job. So I actually know that for me, when I decided that I wanted to go back to school to study metaphysics, I was at an extreme point in my life at my job where I was extremely unhappy. I'm like to the point where I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, and when I was, it was horrid. I walked into my boss's office in a daze and told her I needed to go to part-time because I couldn't handle working full-time anymore. I literally didn't realize what I was saying to her until it was all done.
Good for you.
And then afterwards, I was like, what just happened there? But for me, it was like, my spirit guide took over and walked me in there and said, this is what she needs to do.
That's intense.
Yeah. But then I was able to focus on going back to school. And now I'm focusing on doing this podcast, and I'm getting ready to start my master's degree and my doctorate. So it's crazy how your life will transform during these spiritual awakenings. You're also going to find the need to connect more with nature. The need to be outside and to be away from humans is intense. You're starting to see synchronicities everywhere. You see patterns in everything that you're looking at. Your sleep patterns are different. For a while, you're going to feel like you're not sleeping at all. Like the need to sleep is not as important as the need to learn and grow. The need to eat the same types of foods that you were eating before is different. You're wanting to live a healthier, clean life. And in the beginning, you're feeling some major depression because things around you are changing and you're not sure quite how to cope with them. And you have so much anxiety about the way that things are changing that you're just feeling a little bit down and wondering if you're making the correct choices. You're second guessing yourself. In some really extreme instances, I've read that people actually lose everybody in their life, including their spouse, that they've pushed everybody away because your life and your vibration is on a different level. And so you're pushing everybody else out because they're not on the same level as you.
I can see that happening. For sure.
Yeah.
There's times where I was getting really into different ways of thinking and alternative paths to where it was detrimental. And I was just like, after Trump became president, I was like, all right, we got to go live in this commune. I found one outside of Houston. We're going to go live here in this community, and we're just going to live off the land and be a part of this tribe. And Wayne was like, no, we're not. He's like, we're definitely not doing that. He's like, do you think you want to go live part of this sex cult? Like, that's not happening. And I'm like, why is everything about sex with you? It's not about that. But it's just like, I finally realized like how ridiculous I was like a couple months. It took me a couple months to get out of that ridiculous place.
Right. But you just go into this other, you're like going down the rabbit hole of how can I change my life? And I mean, that was an extreme instance. But yeah, people literally moved out of the country when Trump became president. And I don't blame them. I thought about doing the same thing. But it's extreme and you have to think about things as a whole. Yeah. But that, just you thinking outside of the box was having a spiritual awakening.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You learned from it.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So some ways that you could have a spiritual awakening is doing everything that we've talked about. Make sure to align your chakra, get rid of things
that no longer serve you, objects or people.
Yeah. But you need to learn what works best for you when it comes to your beliefs. You even need to follow a different path per se. So maybe what used to suit you as a belief before doesn't suit you now.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to let go of that. Don't be afraid to, I know I keep mentioning fear, but it really does hold you back. So you have to let go of that fear in order to move on to the next stage.
Right.
So to have this awakening, you have to not care. Not just say, I don't care what people think about me, but actually not care what people think about you. Expect a lot of tears. I cried so much during the time that I was changing and the time leading up to the time that I was changing that now I can only cry out of one eye.
Oh my God, your tear duct is empty?
It's empty. It's been like that for about 1.5 years now.
Whoa.
I literally can only cry out of one eye.
There's some blockage there we're going to have to work on.
Oh, it's all dry. It's cleared out. It's like, it's not clogged. It's empty.
Yeah, that's... I think that a big shift in consciousness for me personally and for a lot of people could just be through information. Like, get your hands on some books on religion, spirituality, different ways of thinking, and just open yourself up to that and your higher consciousness. One of my stages of spiritual awakening was after I read Scott Cunningham's book, Wicca, A Guide to the Solitary Practitioner. That was the first time I thought about the sun and the moon as a god and a goddess. The first time I thought that there could be a goddess and this beautiful yin-yang balance of divinity. And that's really when I shifted everything I knew about my beliefs. And it really opened me up to this whole new way of thinking, to where every time I stepped outside in nature, I was looking at the birds, looking at what came to me and seeing the god and the goddess in that. And it was a whole new way of thinking and perceiving my reality. And it was a beautiful time period in my life. Like, I still can vividly see those mornings that I would spend outside and just looking at the sun and the birds, and like the experiences I had with nature, and like how this crazy hawk like came down and landed in front of me, and I was just like, I know that's the goddess, she's with me. And there was another time where I was just becoming a witch and just dedicating myself to nature and really just becoming a different version of myself. I had to go to work and it was like pouring down rain, hardcore outside, and I look out and I'm just like, oh, I've got to get to the car, and I just did all my hair and makeup and I've got to walk through this. Great. You know, how annoying. And so as soon as I opened the sliding door to go outside, the rain stopped like immediately. And this was probably like the first week or two of becoming really into nature and Wicca and what that means and that relationship means. And so I was like, oh my God, I can control the elements. The nature's with me. And I just felt like so cool. And it probably was a coincidence, but it just feels really neat to have these synchronicities in your life. And when you believe into them, it's amazing.
Oh, but Sharon, there are no coincidences.
That's true. Since then, I have not been able to tap into weather controlling, which is to my disappointment.
That's okay. You needed it at the moment to get you where you're at today. So that's pretty amazing.
So for me, books and knowledge is what's given me my spiritual awakening.
Right.
The more I learn about different ways of thinking and spirituality, I can go down weird rabbit holes sometimes, and I gotta try to stay balanced and have my footing. But I think I'm finally at that place where I have more balance than ever.
That's pretty amazing, because a lot of people, they never experience that, and I feel sad for them.
So many people don't even work on themselves or how to grow as a person.
Right. It's just, my husband calls it the lemming effect. So he's like, you're just going through life like a lemming.
What is that from? I feel like I've heard that before.
I don't know. So he just says that, you go to work, you come home, you watch TV, you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work, you go home, watch TV, you go to bed. Over and over again. Your day never changes. And then on the weekend, it's just get up, eat, watch TV, go to bed.
Okay, so I looked up the word. It says it's a person who unthinkingly joins a mass movement, especially a headlong rush to destruction. That kind of makes sense. People who are just kind of going along with the rat race.
Destructive behavior. Yeah. A lot of people don't have balance in their lives, and that's something that we struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And I like to think that you and I were finally finding this balance in our life. I mean, I should say finally for me. You're still young, so.
No, I feel the same. I feel the same. Like my life is way less rocky. But I did want to ask you, like, what personal experiences do you have with spirit guides that you'd be down to share?
Ooh, dang, I didn't even think about that when we were talking about discussing this for a podcast.
What?
I know I wasn't even thinking about my personal experience. I just wanted to teach so much and to help people that I wasn't even thinking about myself, which is good, which is really good. But when you were discussing that when we're born, we have the main spirit guide and then these other ones, I can really connect with that, because I do know that I have a main spirit guide. This guide has been talking with me for my whole life. It's the same voice. It's not my voice. It's somebody else's voice, but I've heard it since I can remember. It's just this voice that tells me kind of what path I'm going on. So I'm asking it, is this the right path? And let me tell you, I have gone down some very dark paths in my life. So, I mean, I'm not talking murder, of course, but I mean, that's a little too dark for me. But
not a Dexter situation.
Yeah. But I've been down the path with drugs and intoxicants, and I've been down the path of self-harm. And it's this voice that's helped me get out of that path. And sometimes they come to me in the form of a dream. And when I'm in the dream, I see them, but I don't see them.
You can't see them fully.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you're watching those TV shows and they blur out the face.
Oh my God, what if it's yourself? What if that's why you can't see it?
Maybe.
It's your higher self.
It's my higher self.
You're just not meant to see it right now.
I guess not. Maybe one day. Or maybe I asked before I came into this life. Maybe I don't know what all the rules are, so I don't know. People who are on a different level, who've already had an awakening, me tell me that I have a witch guide who's
awesome.
an ancestor who's guided me along the way.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So that she's somewhere from my past. And so I love to think that she's guided me for many years. I still feel her occasionally, but I don't need her as much now as I did back then, especially during my teen years.
So do you think she's from your mother's side?
I did, but when I started doing research into my mother's family tree last year, I did not find the information that I thought I was going to find. So I'm not really sure where she comes from. I think she might be now after doing some research. I think she actually might be from our grandmother's side.
She could be my ancestor too.
Exactly.
Come to me. All you have to do is ask, guys.
That's right.
That would be cool. I've always wanted to have some sort of witch heritage, like kind of like Charmed. Like you just want it to be some sort of clandestine thing where it's passed down to you. That would be really powerful. But I'm happy for you that that's one of the entities that you've been told you have and that resonates with you. That's really neat.
Yeah, she actually used to come to me in my dreams sometimes when I was growing up. I didn't know who she was, and then it was weird. I was dating this guy in high school, and him and I had the same dream. That this night we both had the same dream, and then woke up and we're talking to each other. He was like, I had this weird dream, and I was like, yeah, about this witch aunt of mine. And at that time, Charm didn't exist. None of the witch TV shows that we have today existed. So, you know, we were talking about it. He described her to a T, exactly how I had seen her in my dream, that she was always trying to tell me something. She always tells me to go back to my childhood. That's where I need to
always
find.
Connect with your childhood.
Yeah. She recently came to me in a session of hypnosis, which we'll talk about when I have my daughter on, and she talked to me about going back to my childhood. So actually I'd had a dream about her first, and then through that dream, she helped me in hypnosis go back to my childhood to find something. It's actually an object. I'm supposed to find my dad's Bible that's been passed down in our family, but I keep forgetting about it. So I'm glad that I'm talking about it right now.
What do you think you're going to find with
I don't know. There's
Bible?
something in there because our ancestry, it's written down. There's some stuff in that Bible. It's been handed down in our family. And so I don't know how my dad came upon it and why he had it rather than our grandparents. But for some reason, it was passed down to him. I don't know if it's because he's the eldest.
Was it the big, do you know what it looks like?
It's a big white Bible.
My mom, I think, had that.
Oh, well, my dad has it now.
Oh, he has it now. Okay. I was going to say my mom had a big white Bible with a picture of Jesus on it, like in a circle.
Maybe they all had one.
Is that how it looked?
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom had that Bible growing up, and I
beautiful ribbons inside of it. Has these ribbons. Yeah.
And like the gold pages.
Yes.
And so I think on the front pages there's like a family tree section.
Yes. Yeah.
What the heck? What is this Bible?
I don't know, but I'm supposed to find it. So now I've written a note down.
You're sure it's not the one my mom has, and it's like maybe she has it?
No, I think my dad has it because he had it my whole life. We had it in our house. So when she showed me in my dream, she didn't show me the Bible. She just told me I needed to go back to my house. So I was having this dream that I was trapped in my childhood home. And we had this is going to sound totally cool. And it really was. But we had this secret room that was hidden in the wall.
Yes. Tell me more.
And so that you couldn't tell it was there, but I knew that it was there. And so I was trapped in there. And the new owners of the house were coming home, but I was trapped in this room and I couldn't leave until they left.
What?
But then when I went into hypnosis, she showed me, like I was going through every room of the house trying to find what my ancestor was trying to tell me. And in the dining room was this wooden pedestal, kind of like you would see at a church that they would put the Bible on. Mm-hmm. And there was the white Bible. And so I was saying that I really needed to find this. This is what I was really looking for.
Weird.
There's something in there that is supposed to resonate with me when I get the Bible.
Your spirit guide's like, you should really go back.
Yeah, it was like you need to go back to where it began. I kept saying that apparently in my hypnosis session that I needed to get back to where it began. And so then I was like, deep-seatedly, I was thinking, what's in that Bible? Is that where it really began?
Yeah. You know,
what's
I know
in there? Who's in there?
That sounds like potential for shadow work. And if you could get your hands on that object and connect with either if there's something written in there from our family or if there's some sort of energy that you're going to pick up on. Family ties to that. Because like I said, I think there's a family tree in the first couple pages.
Yeah, there is. I do remember the family tree because my mom was writing in it. I have this vivid memory of her sitting down and writing my sister's name in the Bible after she was born. So that's my spiritual journey awakening thing, you guys.
Yeah. Well, thanks
I'll
for
keep you
sharing.
posted on what we find out.
Well, should we wrap up today's discussion?
Let's wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to talk about the spiritual side of things and get deeper into trying to solve life's mysteries.
Absolutely.
All right, so thanks for listening, guys, and just make sure to join us next Wednesday for another special episode. We're going to be having some werewolf lore. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check out our blog at cousinscoven.home.blog. We are also on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere else podcasts can be found. Send Cauldron Topic ideas, questions, or your paranormal experiences into cousinscoven2@gmail.com.
May you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all, guys.
There are some things, though, I know for certain. Always throw spilled salt over your left shoulder. Keep rosemary by your garden gate. Plant lavender for luck. And fall in love whenever you can.